of course, did not get very far, stopping at the edge of the water with his paws in the sand. A seemingly endless expanse of blue stretched out far in front of him. Waves rippled gently and arrived at shore.
Wait! How the heck am I gonna get past all this water? I can't swim that far.
Kato started walking along the shoreline, trying to find anything to help him travel across the water. There was sand, and more sand, a few shells. Yeah, he wasn't going anywhere. He was stumped until he heard the voice of a cat. It didn't solve his problems at all, but it was very pretty. Having not much else to do, he followed it. It eventually led him to a rock with a cat singing atop it. Something willed him to get closer. The cat turned around, its pure red and beautiful eyes looking down at him. It looked like it was about to make a move, before something else leapt onto the rock and scratched it. Its beautiful voice turned into a horrid screech as it leapt off the rock and into the water. The attacker followed and chased them away. That caused Kato to snap out of whatever trance he was in and look around.
Damn! Why did I walk all the way out here?
He spotted something approaching him from the water. Two white cat ears peeled up from the water. It then peeked its eyes out. A pure, white fluffy cat seemed to watch him from the water.
Oh! Hello! What are you doing in the water?
It sank itself down a bit.
Whoa! Hey! It's okay.
Kato leaned down and softened his voice a bit. She peeked her head out a bit more to greet him.
Maybe we should get you out of the water, miss.
He was interrupted by a fishtail coming out of the water behind her. Oh, that's why she was in the water. Kato looked in awe as she shook it around a bit before letting it flop back down into the water.
Are you a macaque?
She shook her head yes. She seemed to be examining him back, morbid curiosity pulling her out of the water. It hadn't seemed like she saw normal cats very often. The mercat was more curious about Kato's own tail. It was very strange to her. Kato attempted to speak despite being at a loss for words. The cat tilted her head.
Sorry. What's your name?
She stared at him.
Name?
She kept blankly staring.
You talk.
She shook her head no.
Oh. Charades.
She nodded, thinking for a moment. Suddenly, she spotted the pearls in his pocket. She pointed to them.
What? Oh, the pearls.
She nodded and then pointed to herself.
Is your name Pearl?
Pearl nodded rapidly, swimming around a bit before returning.
I see. I'm Kato Boy. And if you don't mind me asking, why did you chase off that other cat?
Pearl took a moment to think before writing her message in the sand.
Siren. Siren equals me.
So that's why he walked all the way over here. That was no ordinary cat. Admittedly, that singing had made him feel tired.
Oh. Well, thank you for saving me. But I gotta find a way to get across this sea. Say, have you seen any pirates around here?
Pearl shook and dug back under the water. Looks like she was afraid of them too.
Whoa! Sorry. The only reason I'm asking is because they kidnapped my best friend. He dropped his pearls in a path to help me follow him. But I don't know if those pearls will stay afloat in the water.
She nodded in understanding. Right then, her face lit up with an idea. Pearl grabbed one of Kato's paws and began to gently tug him, guiding him toward the water.
What are you doing?
With one forceful tug, she dragged him into the water. Kato started holding his breath, squeezing his eyes shut. That was until Pearl placed an air bubble over his head, which let him breathe freely. Opening his eyes, he looked at Pearl as she wrote something in the sand.
Good at finding pearls. I can help and swim.
She did swim incredibly fast. Maybe they'd be able to catch up if Pearl swam him across to the next island.
Well, okay. Let me roll.
Pearl grabbed him by the paw and started to swim. The island that they were at, Kato quickly faded from view. After a few more seconds of rapid swimming, Pearl stopped and looked down. Letting go of Cato, she swam down and dug into the sand with her paws, eventually finding a pearl with an arrow on it. She quickly swam back up and handed the pearl to Cato.
Yes, this is it. It points ahead and to the left.
Brushing it off, he quickly pocketed the pearl. 3/10. Understanding the directions, Pearl held on to Cato and started swimming again. The ocean was quite beautiful. Cato watched as the fish rushed past him. It reminded him of home and Big Boy's home-cooked fish dishes. He could practically smell them from here. Eventually, these waters started to strangely deteriorate. They became murky and overgrown with sea plants. They arrived at shore. Cato crawled onto the gray sand and looked back down at Pearl.
Whoa! Thank you for the ride. Are you sure this is the right place?
Pearl looked around and simply shrugged. She didn't seem to like this place.
Well, how about you stay around here and I'll come back if I don't find anything?
She nodded. It seemed that saying he'd come back soon soothed her nerves a bit.
Well, if that's the case, I'll be back.
Standing up and shaking the water and sand off himself, Cato rushed forward into the dim, wilting jungle.